I'm old enough to remember when microwaves happened, and they were friggin' huge. And I remember once putting a marshmallow in a microwave. Okay, don't try this at home. It makes a big mess and you'll end up having to throw the plate out. But if you put a marshmallow in an old-fashioned microwave, it gets to be the size of like a grapefruit. It's really scary and kind of fascinating.
Cool.
Use a paper plate because you will be throwing the plate away. It is glue. You could build a house with it possibly. Anyway, the
Hi,
point is,
I'm Joe Beal, the founder and CEO of Microcosm Publishing. I'm also the author of A People's Guide to Publishing, which distills what I've learned from selling millions of books over the past 28 years.
I'm Ellie Blue, the Vice President of Microcosm. We started this podcast to share what we've learned with newer publishers, so you can learn from our mistakes. Or maybe you just want to learn about the publishing industry.
This week, we bring first-time special guest Lee Wind of the Independent Book Publishers Association, and maybe more pressingly, of the We Are Stronger Than Censorship campaign. Lee, what is the We Are Stronger Than Censorship campaign? And by the way,
You like the hard-hitting questions.
I cannot help but acknowledge your t-shirt.
video, I'm wearing a t-shirt that says strong like a reader. And the O of strong is a do not enter sign with a white horizontal bar in the center that is opening up to reveal that white horizontal bar is actually a book in the middle of being read. And that is the cool piece of our logo. The project is called We Are Stronger Than Censorship, and it has a little bit of an origin story. So the other hat I wear is that I'm an author of books for kids and teens, and mainly about books for. I'm gay. Also, I mean, not that you would see that on video, but like, it's an important thing to share for the origin story. Oh God, when I was a closeted teen, all I wanted was to not be pegged as gay. I didn't want anyone to know. I tried to be so straight acting. Divergent story. But anyway, the books I write for kids and teens are largely about queer history, social justice, queer empowerment. I write in 3 different categories. And a couple of the books that I've done is a nonfiction series about queer history that has been published by Learner. And the first book in that series, No Way They Were Gay, for readers, this is readers 11 and up. It's a lot of primary sources, and it's won a lot of awards, but it's also been challenged quite a bit and been banned a number of times. And in fact, the follow-up book in that series is called The Gender Binary is a Big Lie. It came out last year, and that was recently on the Department of Defense list of all the books that had to be pulled from. It was like 600 books that were saying had to be pulled from all their schools in 11 different countries and like all over. So like, because of my books being banned and challenged, I've learned a lot about like what that means and that is. And I got to meet the person in the US that holds the data on book banning. Her name is Dr. Taslin Magnuson. And Taslin and I became friends because she hosts these sort of like support group meetings on Zoom for authors in the position that I've been in. And as we became friends, I was talking to her and I was saying that it felt like everything we were doing on the freedom to read side felt like defense. Like we were playing defense, people were trying to fly under the radar. They didn't want their books to be, hit. And we were like, well, what would offense look like? What would it mean to go on the offense against book banning? And that's where we cooked up this idea for We Are Stronger Than Censorship. So in brief, well, I guess too late for that. But the idea is that we buy and donate 2 books to offset every 1 book challenge. The idea is to make the numbers work against the book challengers, right? Like these people are so eager to limit the freedom to read for others. So what if we made the numbers work against them? What if there was one person in Wisconsin that challenged 444 books in their school district, and all 444 books were pulled for 4 months while they were reviewed? And then most of the books at the end of that review time went back on the shelves. But if you think about those kids in that school district, for a semester, those books were banned. And so if that person knew that in response to them doing that, 888 books were going to get purchased and donated, maybe it would have slowed their roll a little bit. So that's the idea in a nutshell. And the T-shirt that I'm wearing is one of the ways that we raise money for the program. So every shirt, we have lots of different slogans. Like we have strong like a reader, strong like a teacher, strong like an author. There's like 15 different styles. And every shirt includes a donation of $16 to buy 2 books to offset 1 book challenge. And then, of course, if anybody's listening and wants to cut a check, or donate directly, a $160 donation funds 20 books to offset 10 book challenges. And then, of course, the numbers get bigger. But I actually think the way we'll scale this is to get more people involved and go smaller, which is an excellent segue to the cool thing that we're doing with Microcosm. Joe, do you want
to together?
Yeah, what are we doing again? It's such a whirlwind.
What a life.
So
We
Joe and I,
yeah.
So Joe and I were sitting and chatting, and I was explaining about how I'm a little obsessed with stickers, and my journal, my personal journal, is covered with stickers front to back. Not interior, just the cover. Like I kind of like, it's my fun thing that I do with the cover of my journal. And I know that Microcosm sells some really cool stickers. And we were talking about sort of like the punk rock sensibility of both Microcosm, if you would allow me, and also We Are Stronger Than Censorship, because this is a little punk rock. I mean, the idea that like we're going to fight back in this really creative way. Look, the problem of book censorship is so huge right now. We're not trying to take the place of any other effort to push back against book banning. But in addition to those things, this feels like a cool punk rock thing to do, to be like, okay, you're gonna challenge 10 books, we're gonna donate 20 books. So we started talking about, well, what if we did a line of stickers with Microcosm? Because I don't know anything about retailer stickers. I mean, I know a little bit about book marketing, but which is my day job at IBPA. But like, what if we did a line of stickers where every sticker contributed a certain amount of money to help the program? So we did it, and it's about to launch. I don't know, you all could tell me when it's going to launch, but basically if you buy, for every 16 stickers, we're going to be able to buy 2 books to offset 1 book challenge. So I think that's how we will scale up, because I don't personally know a lot of people that can write a check for $160,000 to, I don't know. Okay, I'm failing on the math here, but what is that like? Okay, I'm actually going to do it. I have a calculator here. It's ridiculous, and of course I just open up
math live on the air on our podcast.
Live scary math, but like basically,
the pencil is moving, the calculator
no pressure.
is clicking.
No pressure at all.
So if somebody wrote a check for $160,000, right, that would be kind of amazing, and it would fund 10,000 books to offset 5,000 book challenges. I don't personally know a lot of people that can write a check for $160,000. If you're listening and you can, please, it's for, we have a 501c3 fiscal sponsor, so it would be tax deductible, but I'm guessing that most people can't. And also the world is on fire, and there are lots of other things that people need to help with. Like, my husband volunteers twice a week at a food bank to help people eat, because that's really important right now. So like, in the Maslow hierarchy of needs, maybe fighting book bans isn't the thing that you're going to write the check for $160,000. But, I think the way we scale this is that it's going to be maybe 160,000 people buying buying a sticker for $5, where $1 from that sticker ends up going to the program. And that's how we will get 10,000 books to offset 5,000 book challenges. So I'm really excited, because it's democratizing the fight against book banning, and also it looks really cool. I mean, this no, it does, and it's like I can't wait to have one on my journal, right? And there's, like I said, there's like strong like a librarian, there's strong like a bookseller. We just added strong like a poet and strong like a memoirist and strong like an editor. We have IBPA is for those listening that don't know, I work for the Independent Book Publishers Association, and we have a lot of members that we hear from. We have over 3,000 300 members right now, different companies. And one of those companies works with publishers. They're called Technica Editorial. And they do a lot of like editing of journals and stuff for the academic kind of realm. But they have like 50 editors on staff. I don't know, I'm pulling that number from my elbow. I can't remember exactly how many, but they did an in-person reunion or whatever, like a gathering of their editors, and 17 editors were wearing the Strong Like an Editor t-shirt. And so that was a really cool thing. So yeah, I'm very, very excited about teaming up with Microcosm in this way, and really think that it will be this cool thing. Let's see how much we can push back together.
Us too. I mean, honestly, like thinking about this project, like it's more exciting to me. Like, awesome if someone wants to like write you guys a big check directly. That's great. No shade against that. But like doing it this way, it's like more work for everybody, but it also like kind of supports the ecosystem more. Like it feels more like a mutual aid model where like, you know, you guys aren't, we're not just donating books to donate and people donating money to donate. You're like buying the books and our authors are getting paid for their work. And like, it's, you know, we're giving you a better deal than we might otherwise give, but we're like still, it's like supporting our labor force as well instead of just people kind of giving, it's like this thing that lifts everybody up and everybody wins. And I really love that. Like, why can't everything be like that? I don't know.
Thanks, Ellie. I'm so glad you brought that up. Yeah, we didn't want to have the publishers donate the books. That felt like I want, well, IBPA, we want publishers to be successful and to make money, so then authors can make money and the ecosystem thrives, right? Like so many people are asking publishers, just give us books. But that's hard for publishers. There's costs involved with books. So yeah, and so there are all these myths about book banning, and it's frustrating because the way that book banning is presented in the media, it's as if it's about the books. And okay, newsflash, it is not about the books. If you start arguing about the content of the books with someone that is advocating for books to be banned, you have already kind of lost, because you are buying into their sort of like very insidiously constructed mental model that says that there is something inherently wrong in sharing information with other people. Like it's the idea that like ignorance is going to protect young people, and that is not true. I mean, I can tell you, I grew up, I didn't have one book that showed gay people in a positive way. It did not make me straight. It just made me isolated and made me feel like I was the only gay person on the planet, which is completely ironic because even my older brother was gay and I didn't know, because we were so deeply closeted. So I feel like, so the big myth is it's about the books, and it's really, when it's really about the chilling effect. What they're trying to do is they're trying to make teachers and librarians so afraid to bring in any representation outside of their sort of like white Christian, cisgender, straight, wealthy paradigm, that there'll be no diversity in libraries, there'll be no diversity in classrooms, and they are trying to construct a bigger closet to shove all of us diverse people into, which is, and allies as well, which is bullshit. And I don't know, can I swear? Sorry.
Yeah, please. Actually,
okay, I just think it's okay, excellent. It's just so, it's so messed up, and it's like when they say that any book with a representation of two moms in it or two dads is pornography, then they're like, and you advocate for that book, then they're like, oh, well, you want to give pornography to children. Like, it's so messed up. We're buying it. We're letting them set the agenda by setting the vocabulary. Look, we're word people. It's, don't buy into it. It is not about the books. It's about the chilling effect. And then there's another myth, if I may, which is that getting your book banned or challenged is like a badge of honor. and you're going to sell a ton more books. And, see the previous myth, it's about the chilling effect. And it turns out that even the books that are in the top 10, they're not making the money they should be making because of all this sort of challenges. And from my perspective at IBPA, I get to talk to a lot of publishers, and many of the ones that are mission driven, that are particularly focused on publishing works by queer people or Black people or other BIPOC people, they are telling us that their sales to schools and libraries are down, in some cases, 50%. So if you think about that, if their sales are down by half to what they were expecting, that impacts the entire supply chain of them bringing in new books, of them their print runs. Like, it depresses everything. And what's so ironic is that, like, the people that need these books, I think you could argue that, like, even the people that are not the books that are not about need the books, right? Like, I need to read books about the Hispanic and Latino experience so I can be a better ally and I can have that empathy thing. But definitely my Latino and Hispanic friends, they need those books too for their lives and their families. And so it's like the demand for the books is there, right? Like the sort of the global majority that the US is on the cusp of being part of. It is there. The audience is there. What's happening is that they're trying to depress or chill the environment, so those books aren't being picked up by the sort of traditional trade system. And libraries are, I think librarians are amazing. I think librarians are huge allies and advocates. And the idea that, like, I saw on Instagram recently, somebody was saying that it's like a supermarket. Just because I don't like cheese, it's not like my supermarket should no longer carry cheese, right? Like, somebody else might like cheese. The idea that, like, in a country that celebrates freedom, that we would want to impinge on somebody else's freedom to explore, to learn, it's really infuriating. Like, we call ourselves the land of the free, but there are people in our country that think that nobody should be free to be exposed to things that they don't like, which is hugely messed up. Like, fine, you can have input on what your children read, and I'm sure you do, but you have no business telling other people what their children should have access to.
Right. And that is a perfect segue to my point, which is, as a young person, I similarly suffered from, let's call it, milquetoast literature, where things were, like, so severely whitewashed that I literally thought books were boring. I literally thought I didn't like books because I had been just inundated with crap, And then it wasn't until I founded the press and missed out on an entire childhood of reading that I was like, oh, I'm arrogant enough at that age. Maybe less so today. You two can argue about this later, but that I was like, I'm going to make actually good books, and I'm going to make something that is, like, challenging. And then, it never in my lifetime occurred that anybody would care enough to challenge me. And to be honest, I'm honestly shocked the most at how little we are challenged, and the things that we're not challenged on, especially when we do something, like, really ridiculous, like the post-structuralist vulva, or, like, things that, like, really, people, like, you'd think they would raise an eyebrow at, but it's actually, like, very different themes that bother people, like you've pointed out, because, again, it's not about the books, it's about other things.
I feel like we've got this, like, angry mail because about any of our publications about this one little book about tarot archetypes, with people who disagree with the author's interpretation of swords.
Wow. Okay.
Like,
well, I mean,
yeah.
But there's also this weird idea, right? And this is actually, I think, a big problem in book publishing, that, like, when you ask most authors who is their book for, they'll say something like, everybody. I want everybody to read my book. And it's like, no, like pause, press pause on that. Like saying that you want to reach everybody is a great way to reach nobody. Like you're just gonna like throw money away, and that's like don't have some goal in your mind. But I hear you so much, Joe. Like I thought history was really boring, and then I ended up writing 2 books about history because it was so unbelievably fascinating. Like I'm like, what? There were queer people in history? What? There were people that were lived outside the gender binary in history. Wait a minute, the whole gender binary is a big lie? Like it just blew my mind again and again and again. And the fact that we have, and history is actually being attacked right now, and the fact that like we have this incredible legacy. I'll just say, you know, as a queer person, like I did not know I didn't know that any of it existed. And then
we built this software from scratch to solve our own problems starting in 2001.
It's not only the reason for our survival, but the reason we've been a Publishers Weekly fastest growing publisher 3 years in a row.
Now we want to share it with you.
Join Working Lit and get back the agency to understand your publishing business, market and sell your books, and painlessly pay royalties.
Working Lit. Doing the math for publishers.
Visit workinglit.com to give it a try.
The point is, if I could send any of my books back to me as a kid, as an 11-year-old kid, as a 13-year-old, as a 16-year-old, like it would have, any of this stuff would have changed my entire life. And that's sort of my compass when I write. Like, is this book something that would have been really meaningful to me? And then I'm trying to just sort of pay it forward because I actually don't have that magical microwave, time machine. But yeah, it would be cool.
I wasn't allowed to have a microwave as a kid either, so I feel for you.
Can you tell us a little bit more about your experience with your own book being banned and challenged? Like what happened and how did that feel, and what was your reaction? What was your publisher's reaction?
So when I tell people that my books have been challenged or banned, they're like, oh, congratulations. Right? Because like the first thing they think of is that, well, it must be getting a lot of attention. But again, the chilling effect is that it actually makes it harder. But that's the thing. It makes it harder to sell all the books about queer history. I don't know. I was laughing with my agent at one point. I was like, oh, well, this book will really get banned. And she's like, Lee, everything you write is going to be challenged and banned. And that can sound depressing, but also I'm not writing it for the haters. Like I'm not focused on them. I think a lot, there's this great quote in the book Bird by Bird by Anne Lamott. She talks about lighthouses and how they don't run all over on the island looking for boats to save. They just stand there and they shine. And I love that so much. And that metaphor is very much something I think about all the time because I'm like, look, my books are not for everybody. And if you're not interested in the light, I think of every book is like another light on in my lighthouse. It's like, if you're not interested in the light from this book, that is totally okay. Go off, sail somewhere else, but if you are, come on over. I want to share this with you. It's super, super cool. And I use that metaphor because it keeps me sane, right? Like if I focused on the haters, then I kind of am letting them win. So I don't think about them at all. I mean, and I guess I've been fortunate enough that my books have been on lists and they've been cited in, The Gender Binary is a Big Lie was cited in some legal case in Connecticut or something. And they were saying that the argument that was being made by the people against the freedom to read were saying things like books should not, it was so ridiculous. It was something like, we shouldn't have any books in the library that are advocating for gender ideology without something that directly contradicts it. And they were talking about the gender binary as a big lie. And I'm like, so you mean the entire rest of your library collection is not sufficient? Because they pointed out, they're like, well, there are books like the gender binary is a big lie, and there isn't something to refute that. I'm like, the entire effing collection is like,
Right?
Like,
Maybe
they
they haven't
don't.
looked around maybe they haven't been to the library. That's actually probably the case.
Well,
Right?
and actually, when I was saying that the problem is so big that we have to push it from lots of different angles, I mean, one of the angles is that like we need to require that, you know, the way, the rules of how it's set up. Like one person should not be able to challenge 444 books. Like you need to, there need to be parameters around this. You know, I think at minimum you should, you know, have standing in that community. You should have a kid in that school. You should have to sign a legal affidavit that you've read the entire book. You know, there should be a structural way to deal with it. There should be the legal way to deal with it, and then there's the punk rock way to deal with it, which is like, okay, you're gonna do that. We're gonna buy and donate 2 books to offset every book you challenge. And I think that the news is also kind of skewed. One little project I'm working on, which I haven't said publicly yet, but why not? Because we're here and we're friends. I'm trying to do I'm trying to do accounting with a lot of the other organizations that are giving away books. We Need Diverse Books, the Glisten Rainbow Library, ourselves, We Are Stronger Than Censorship, and trying to get a number, because Pan America just released their big report, and they said that between 2021 and now, over 20,200 some book challenges have happened in schools. And I was like, well, wouldn't it be cool to come up with what is the number of donated books that across all of these cool freedom to read organizations that have been donated in that same time? So we're collecting the numbers. So if you're listening and you run an organization or you're part of, getting books into the hands of young readers, I want to hear the numbers, because I want to come up with that, because again, we don't get the attention, right? We all have a negative bias. The news certainly has a negative bias. And it feels overwhelmingly negative, right? Oh, this person did this person did that challenged so many books. But the Washington Post did an analysis of the book challenges that happened in, I believe it was 2 years ago. I believe it was the 2022 to 2023 school year. And they found that they analyzed a little bit over 1,000 challenges. And they found that 60% of them were by 11 people. I mean, Joe, Ellie, wow. We're 3 people. Yeah. We know 11 people. Yeah. Like 11 people is not a lot of people, but yeah. It's a manufactured crisis. Like so much of the shit that's going down these days, mm-hmm. It's a manufactured evil kind of like chaos. But that's not a glitch. That's the feature. Like that's what they're going for. And I think that, as we fight back and as we stand up for things like democracy and diversity and equity and inclusion, as we stand up for these principles, it's important to remember that, like a choir, it's okay to take a breath. Like if enough of us are singing, then if you've ever been in a choir, you know that like you can sustain a note as a group for quite a long time, but you are going to have to take a breath individually. And it's okay, because all the people around you are carrying the note while you're breathing. So it's okay if you need a break, if you need to step away, it's all right. But recognize that like that's our power is in numbers. And they keep attacking just parts of our communities, because if they get us fighting each other, then we won't band together as a community and stand up to them. So that's what we need to do. We need to stop fighting each other, and we need to stand together as allies, and
or at least
not
12 of us need to.
At least, yeah. Well, I mean, isn't it crazy to think that just 11 people can make it seem like there's this huge national crisis happening, and this uproar about like the books, and when it's not even about the books? So I think in a funny way, reverse engineering it, like that's kind of inspiring. Like what could we do, right? So we're gonna do some stickers. We're gonna buy some books, and we're gonna get the word out. And I also want to say that in this world, we have in the US, if you walk into any bookstore, well, I don't know, most bookstores, you walk in And the back of the envelope math is that 4 out of 5 of those books in that store are from corporate publishers. And when I say corporate publishers, I mean the big 5, the conglomerate owned, basically the corporate publishers are in the US. There are 5 of them. I'm less interested in them than I am in, no shade, oh, a little bit of shade. I'm more interested in the independent publishers, that 5th book that is in a bookstore, because IBPA has, literally we have 3,300 publisher members. About 1,000 of them are author publishers, but the other 2,300 are companies that are publishing books. And many of them are mission driven, like Just Us Books, like Levine Corrido, like Microcosm. And I think that is the engine for diversity in literature and in books, because it is a different ethos. It is a different, yes, you want to make money, but you're not in existence purely to make money. You have something else that is important to you, that you have a mission. And this isn't to say that there aren't beautiful books coming out from corporate publishers, but I don't see them being the steadfast champions of diversity that I see the independent world doing. So again, they're doing some beautiful books, but also I feel like some of the efforts that they've made towards diversity feel very performative, which we witnessed after the George Floyd stuff, where all these new imprints happened, and then within 2 years, most of them were shuttered. And it was like, it really hurts. It's like, but again, it's like, I think that's why for the first year of the program of We Are Stronger Than Censorship, the books that we've been buying are from 20 different independent publishers, including Microcosm, which is how this whole thing started in the first place, right? Because we wanted to highlight the incredibly cool books that each of these 20 different independent publishers were putting out in the world. And when we went to the publishers, we didn't say, we want you to give us your most challenged book. Again, because it's not about the books, and we didn't want people to fall into that trap. So we said, hey, what are some of the books that you have on your list that you think should be doing better than they are, but because of the chilling effect of book bans, they're not doing as well. So this is when I turn it to you. And do you want to talk a little bit about The Courage Party? Because it's one of the 20 books that we're buying for the program.
It's a little bit difficult, but yeah. So, and the author passed during the program, and she was very close to me and she really helped me out when I was a teenager, and I was pretty hard up. And so it's very sweet that you chose that book, because it's again about helping a kid that kind of doesn't know which way is up and where it goes, and how to sort of move on from trauma. And it is based on a real story with another kid that their family adopted, and who is I'm still close with, and it's a cool thing on a whole ton of levels, as well as the HBO made a documentary about their family that's a really cool story, because they were important people in creating graphic novels to be about things other than superheroes wearing tights, mild shade to superheroes wearing tights, because comics can be about so much more than that, and that was kind of their big preface. And then so the book is kind of the story of that, as well as a how-to narrative. And so it's really cool that, that, and to your point, the bulk of the audience for that is schools, libraries, kids, parents. So it is exactly the kind of book that's going to see major resistance, major challenges, because it's breaking a lot of taboos.
Yeah, the book, we developed it for the school library market and for the comics market, and it came back from the printer in April of 2020, when all of those things were completely shut down and not buying anything. And it's a big hardcover book. It's called The Courage Party by Joyce Brabner. It's a big illustrated story about, helping kids deal with sexual assault that they've experienced and in their communities. It's very serious. It's frames the kid not as a survivor, not as a victim, but as a crime fighter, which I love. And, you know, it's really kind of all about, you know, this little girl experiences something traumatic and they throw her a party, and all these women come together and they're like telling their Me Too stories, essentially. It's super powerful. I feel like every kid and a former kid probably needs this book and will cry the whole time they're reading it. And it does seem like tragic that, yeah, by the time we had the opportunity to sell it into the intended market, this chilling effect had already begun. In the, like, you know, we developed the heck out of that book so Texas public schools would take it for their libraries. But guess what? They haven't. And, you know, every kid needs a book like this at some point, unfortunately. It's very real. So thanks for helping get it in front of them.
Our industry is run by billionaires and conglomerates.
At Microcosm, we wanted the freedom to independently sell our books, easily pay royalties, manage our inventory, and understand our business all in one place.
That's why we've been using our own software since 2001.
Now, we want to share it with you.
Working Lit is the only business success software that is created and owned 100% by publishers for publishers.
Join Working Lit and get the agency you need to help your business grow.
Visit workinglit.com to try it for free.
Microcosm is kind of punk rock, right? Like, you don't rely just on the sort of like library and school distribution. You're in a lot of different kinds of stores, and not just bookstores, right? A lot of different kinds of retail. And you know, and yet at the same time, like, I'm thinking of that Texas judge that was like, well, people can just buy it if they can't get it at the library. And it's like, wow, your privilege is showing. Like, not everybody can afford to buy every book that they're interested in. I mean, I can't even. I get books from the library like every week. I'm going to the library to get more books. And for the publishers listening, the library is a great place for your book to be discovered and then purchased, because I've certainly done that many times, that I've gotten a book from the library and I'm like, I love this. I need to own a copy of this.
That's what I was going to say, is that a lot of times the library is a pass on the filter, because there's so much of a static to noise ratio problem that, like, literally any touchstone that creates familiarity with a book is ultimately what helps it find its audience. So that's like another cool thing that We Are Stronger Than Censorship is doing, is like adding a touchstone. But yeah, I think about this all the time, because, you know, whenever we tell people what we do professionally, they're like, oh, isn't it all just on Amazon now? And you're like, well, I guess if you like ignore what's happening in the world, or they'll say something like, does anybody even read anymore? And you're like, yeah, book sales are at a record level. It's not that, you know, but it's, the problem is that there are more books than ever being published and more books than ever being challenged.
So can I ask, where are these books being donated to? Like, how are you choosing that side of the partnership?
So we have, right now we're somewhere around 80 publishing. We have 80 partners so far for the program. This is pretty much my part of what I do for the program, is kind of create these cool partnerships. So we have maybe 12 partners that help us distribute the books. Like things like Florida Freedom to Read, Texas Freedom to Read, and We Need Diverse Books. And then organizations like Red Wine and Blue have a Trouble Nation thing. And so the most recent batch of 1,000 books we bought, 18 of those went to Trouble Nation groups across the country. And then there's a student-led Freedom to Read group that distributed some of the books in Texas. So it's really, you know, there's so much demand there. Like we would not have a problem getting more books out into the world and into the hands of people for whom it would be life-changing. And I was thinking about that, like when you were talking about the Courage Party, like that book would be life-changing for someone that needed it. And that kind of care and heart and mission behind it is why I was so excited to have Microcosm be part of it, because like that is the kind of books we want to give attention to, right? Like we want to surface it. And I loved how you were saying like the static to noise, was that it? Static Static to music, right? Do we want it to be noise? But like,
Well, I mean, maybe you want to hear the static and the noise is annoying.
that's true. Actually, I was thinking about this is another like I'm old moment, but like changing the radio station and like hearing the static in between the things. And my husband was scrolling through Instagram the other day, and it was just the constant like the changing radio stations of the sounds of the reels flipping. And I was like, oh, that really makes me think about like trying to find a radio station that you're listening to.
Right.
Yeah, we're all too much time doom strolling.
So the mechanics of this program. So you have obviously, I'm seeing that you've made t-shirts. And then so what, and I guess wait, I can go full circle here. In the signal to noise ratio or signal to music ratio, we have like, I guess we can create awareness of the program by putting the stickers in stores. So then in theory, somebody that lives in Iowa will just like go to their local indie and like see the stickers and be like, and then learn about the thing. And then, maybe they'll just buy like a couple different stickers, but then they'll like, feel good that they supported this thing. But then maybe then they'll tell somebody about it, and then they'll tell somebody about it, and we'll create a bit of virality. And then when you think about that, and you think about like, thousands of independent retailers, tens of thousands, 2 million independent retailers in the United States, then like, that's a really good, just like a book getting discovered, that's a really cool way of the program getting discovered. Is this what you intended or foresaw with your idea because I think you approached me with this idea. I don't think I came up with this.
Well, I've been wanting to have stickers for a long time. I just like I'm not a publisher. I'm not a retailer, and so I was trying to figure out, well, how do we make it happen? And I thought about the sort of, again, punk rock alignment of what you all do, and that you're not relying on just Barnes and Noble sales. Like you really have diversified who you're retailing to. And I thought that it could be a really cool match. So that's why I brought it up. The other thing I'll share is that we have about a dozen bookstore partners in the program right now. And the way a bookstore becomes a partner is they look at the 20 books that are in this collection this year, that the ones that we're buying from independent publishers, and they choose one or more that they think will do well in their store, and they stock it. And then we give them a little a shelf talker to print out. And I mean, it's all self-serve, it's very easy. And the shelf talker says, consider buying this book for yourself, or to give this store for the store to donate. And it has a little QR code if they want to find out more about the program. So I think that like as a add-on, that would be a cool thing, that if a store is carrying the stickers and then they want to become a partner of the program, they can do more. If they want to buy t-shirts that say, strong like a retailer, we can create those. There's if they're not a bookstore, right? Because strong like a bookseller is already a shirt we have. Strong like a sticker seller, I don't know that it would be very successful, but
strong like a slap tagger.
Mm-hmm. Ooh, yeah, there you go.
Like a what? Ellie, say it again.
The slap tagger.
That's like a person that does graffiti with stickers.
Nice. Where they just slap it on the stop sign.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
I don't know if they would buy the t-shirt.
They would. They do. You get pretty strong doing stuff like that. You're doing all kinds of like core strength cardio.
Running from the cops,
getting
hanging
like
off the edge of
10
the building,
feet up, all kinds of stuff.
Standing on your bike to put the sticker on the.
Not that I would know.
A little parkour sticker moment.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. So there's a bit of that too. But like, was this? So this is just an added bonus. This was not part of the vision then.
Well, I've been trying for a long time to think, how is this scalable? how do we get the numbers to be bigger? How do we expand what we're doing? So like, if we can get the numbers to be really big, maybe it really does serve as a, pulling an emergency brake on a runaway train. And it does feel a bit like a runaway train. Book banning has become so, it is a manufactured epidemic, but it actually at this point is an epidemic. It is so widespread. I think the name of PEN America's new report was sort of like the normalization of book banning. It's impacting so many communities, so many publishers upstream, so many authors, so many readers, so many librarians who are really on the front lines, that I would love us to be more, to have more books out, to get more books into the hands of kids. Books are so powerful. I think that every book is like an empathy machine. It's this magical thing. And they're fighting books because they don't want people to have empathy. They don't want us to have empathy for each other. And I mean, I think that the current people in charge are absolutely devoid of empathy. And with every choice they make, it's like they show that they're not readers. they have very little compassion. And I don't think that's the world that most of us want to live in.
Well, on that note, we are just about out of time, but thank you for coming on. Lee, do you have any parting words of wisdom you'd like to share with our readers?
I don't know if it's wisdom, but I'll just say, like, when you read a book that you really love, especially if it's about or by a person from a community that is underserved or marginalized in some way, talk it up. Like, share about it. Like, I think that that's one of the easiest and coolest things that we can do. I think that the thing that really motivates book sales is word of mouth. So I'll share that, like, I recently listened to Pride and Prejudice, and then I was talking with a group of queer author friends, and I was saying, man, I wish there was a queer version of Pride and Prejudice, because that would be so fun. And someone said, oh, Lee, there is. And I'm like, what are you talking about? It's called Most Ardently, and it is effing amazing. And it's a YA, and the main character is trans, and it is a retelling of Pride and Prejudice with this sort of like trans gay love story at the heart of it. And I don't know who published it, and that is actually a cool thing, by the way, that nobody really cares who publishes what, as long as it's good. And I think from a consumer standpoint, like, it is a rare consumer that is flipping to the copyright page to see who published a book. Yeah. But I listened to the audiobook of it. I thought it was absolutely great. It's by Gabe Cole Novoa. And it was so much fun. So I have given you a book recommendation of a queer themed book that I really loved. I believe the author was also part of the queer community. It was so well done and so fun. And it's not my genre at all, but I was like, what the hell? I'm having this Jane Austen moment. So there you go, a queer Jane Austen.
Awesome. I'll add my recommendation on that reminded me of. It's a book called Pride, and it's a Pride and Prejudice retelling by E.B. Zoboe, and it's set in a gentrifying community in New York City, and the main characters are all Black and Afro-Latino, and they have all sorts of fun shenanigans, and it's a super fun book. So I don't know. I feel like Jane Austen retellings are one of my favorite genres. So I'm so glad I hadn't heard about that one, but it's going on my list.
That sounds great. Okay, wait, Joe, I think we need a book recommendation from you just to round it out.
What's your favorite Jane Austen retelling?
See. Oh, Elliot is suggesting that I recommend Clueless, which is largely a tale based on my own life. And struggling into moments of knowing a lot about something where people like sort of like have lower expectations on you.
I think you're referring to Legally Blonde, actually, which we watched the same day we watched Clueless.
Sorry, I'm learning a lot about 90s media. I thought it would be time, and I am floundering.
Maybe you should just recommend a book that you would.
A book that I've read? Yeah, that is usually, it tends to go better that way. So mostly, and this is the funny thing, it's like I just finished a school program. So most everything that I've read is either like books for school or books that we are publishing. And so the book the book that just came back from the printer is called "Is There a Cult for That?" And I feel like that is like the book of our time, because a lot of like her stuff is like observances where, she's mostly like making incisive humor, and none of it is really a stretch, but she just is kind of like pointing out commonalities, and especially around things like culture and outfits, and she's like creating categorizations, and like the joke is that you're like trying on cults to find the one that's like right for you, but I think like the actual point of the book is to like develop critical thinking skills and be like, oh right, like there are things and there's like reasons that you would not be, like that you wouldn't be hoodwinked for this if you like knew what to look for.
I like that.
And like, it's and she also kind of addresses how like a lot of smart people get like sucked up into stuff, despite all that. And so I thought that was like a cool book.
Maybe we should send copies to those 11 prolific book banners.
Oh yes, and then I can learn the difference between Legally Blonde and Clueless.
We just have to watch them again, basically.
Right, I guess so.
I think Ellie has an agenda here.
Apparently.
It was a great time for movies. What can I say? Especially if you're a teenage girl.
Yes.
Thank you so much for coming on the program, Lee. Again, this is Lee Wind. You can find everything that we've been talking about at wearestrongerthancensorship.org.
And or you can find their merchandising on the Microcosm page if you search for "We Are Stronger Than Censorship Creator," and then it'll show you everything. And everything is available now, shipping, now. So we're gonna have a great time with that.
Awesome! I'm so excited, and thank you both so much for everything, and for being light in the world, being another lighthouse. I really appreciate it.
Thanks for joining us once again.
Please send your questions to podcast@microcosmpublishing.com so we can answer them on future episodes.
And please give us 5 stars on iTunes and everywhere else that podcasts are reviewed.
You can find us on the internet at microcosm.pub,
on Twitter at Microcosm,
on Facebook at Microcosm Publishing,
on Instagram at Microcosm_pub,
and here in Portland, Oregon on North Williams Avenue.
Thank you so much.
Have a wonderful week.